I think one of the opportunities here is what would it be like if in the world, every job seeker and every application that apply gets looked at? There's a connection. And I think with AI, that allows us to scale at such a just amazing level. I think we can solve the black hole problem.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're listening. Welcome back to AI and the Future of Work. I'm your host, Dan Turchin, CEO of PeopleRain, the AI platform for IT and HR employee service. If you like what we do, please give us a like and a rating wherever you listen, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And please join the newsletter if you haven't yet. We've been doing it probably more than 6 months now. And we include some interesting commentary from guests that doesn't always make it into the podcast, and some additional fun facts. And join us. It's a good place to meet more of the over 1 million listeners that listen to this podcast weekly. Hope you're proud to be one of them. If you leave a comment for me, I just may share it in an upcoming episode, like this one from Lawrence, who writes from Minneapolis and is a market analyst at a retail company. Lawrence's favorite episode is number 304. with Dave Smoley, legendary former CIO at Apple, Honeywell, and Flex, about how AI is transforming company culture. We learn from AI thought leaders weekly on the show, and of course, the added bonus, you get one AI fun fact each week. For today, Jim Stroud writes at ERE.net that there's a great career migration happening from what we used to call DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, to AI. In it, Jim says between 2023 and 2025, more than 2,600 DEI jobs vanished. At the same time, AI ethics jobs skyrocketed. Colorado State called it the number one most in-demand AI job for 2025. What happened was simple. The DEI label became political. The problem stayed, though. The solution was to rebrand, reframe, and relocate. You don't fight bias in conference rooms anymore. You do it in code reviews and compliance audits. The DEI job title might have died, but the skill set certainly didn't. It turns out the same skills that kept workplace culture from imploding are now the ones keeping algorithms from spiraling into lawsuits. Those skills include conflict negotiation, bias recognition, stakeholder communication. Stroud concludes by saying AI ethics is what DEI always wanted to be: measurable, technical, and immune to the culture wars. It's a great article. Of course, I'll share the full link. My commentary. Jim's advice is very compelling. It's thought-provoking, and as intended, it's also controversial. I didn't make the link between DEI and AI until I read the article. It's also overly narrow in its focus. DEI and AI ethics are related because data bias is, of course, a component of AI ethics, and we've discussed that a lot on this show. The broader categories where the growing field of AI ethics is focused include additional topics as well, like privacy, security, accuracy, and explainability. To avoid the consequences of latent bias in training data, we must build additional guardrails to detect and mitigate the impact of biased data. This article should address all three key pillars of responsible AI: transparency, predictability, and configurability. I celebrate that we're having these conversations. I think this article didn't completely capture what's important when we talk about this, but hey, look, Jim, it's a clickbaity title. It worked for me. We share it with our audience, so thanks for publishing it. Now, shifting to this week's conversation. Gosh, I'm excited about this one. It's taken more than 6 months to get today's guest on the podcast. Anthony Moisant is Chief Information Officer and Chief Security Officer at Indeed, the career search platform launched in 2004, which is now the number one job site in the world with 610 million job seeker profiles. Anthony joined the company nearly 5 years ago after nearly 8 years in a similar role at sister company Glassdoor. In his role as CIO and CSO, Anthony leads teams focused on the internal technology Indeedians rely on to run the business, support employees, and find and retain customers. In his role as CSO, Anthony leads a security team focused on safeguarding the information that job seekers entrust with Indeed. Anthony graduated from the U.S. Navy Nuclear Submarine School. Anthony, thank you for your service, first and foremost. And it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Let's get started by having you share a bit more about your background and how you got into the space.
Hey, Dan, thank you for having me. I'm a huge fan. Apologies, it's taken us so long, but I was jumping out of bed this morning to have this conversation. I'm really excited. So I've gotten into this space. Look, I did, as you mentioned, I was in the U.S. Navy, and one of my formative experiences with technology came from the Navy. But over the years, I've been at a very interesting intersection of technology, business strategy, and then the often lost component, which is people. And today I serve as the CIO and Chief Security Officer at Indeed. Also have a role at the parent company, Recruit Holdings, as an executive officer there. So I lead the global technology and security strategy for one of the largest marketplaces in the world and the largest job marketplace in the world in over 60 countries. It is daunting. It is a huge mission. It is a huge responsibility for us to build scalable platforms that allow us to help people get jobs, and to do that in a trusted way. Right, is, I think, one of the things that we take very, very seriously is the mission of helping people get jobs. We realize that the folks that are getting jobs and how important that is for society, for them. It's a huge a societal responsibility that we have. And so sitting at that intersection for me is pretty incredible. It is a um, very inspiring for me and for my team. So my path here hasn't been linear, but it has always been shaped by passion for system thinking, creating leverage, being able to dance in the middle of being a builder and a protector at the same time. And so, what drew me to this new role was very simple, but not easy. It's the belief that the technology done right can unlock potential in humans, and I couldn't be more excited by what we're seeing right now in this kind of once in a generation opportunity to reshape and reframe how people work.
So you already said a couple things that might surprise people who don't really appreciate the role of the CIO. To the uninitiated, it might seem like running technology in any company, it's kind of the same. You're just there to kind of manage speeds and feeds and help people get online and fix their VPN issue. But just in the way you talked about your role, clearly you're connected to the mission of Indeed, and Indeed is such a mission-driven company. Maybe talk about why you're not doing just managing the day-to-day of technology, and how your job is connected to the mission of Indeed.
Yeah, one of the things, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Dan. I think that one of the things that is maybe the defining characteristic of Indeed that is just so powerful is it's a focus on the mission. Every presentation we give at Indeed starts with that mission, which is, it's simple, it's powerful, but it's not easy. The mission is to help people get jobs. This is what gets us out of bed in the morning and what powers us throughout the day. And we're a very, very mission-oriented company. I think it's important to realize, though, it's not just about getting people jobs. It's like we have this appreciation, a deep appreciation for what a job actually means, how important someone getting a job, what that means for them and for their families and for society in general. So as a CIO, yeah, certainly there are a lot of things that my teams deal with that are maybe in some worlds would be considered back office. In some world, it would be considered, part of the engine room. That's not how we approach the problem. We have a mission here at Indeed that is very audacious, which is to reduce the time to hire by 50%. And in order to do that, we have to strip friction out of every gear and every part of the system. And that, at the heart of it, that's my job, is to make sure that every system, every workflow, every experience is reinforcing that mission comes first, and we need to go after it with greater speed, precision, quality. And then often the thing that gets left out is empathy. You know, one of the things that gets in the way with us connecting with job seekers and connecting with employers, I think it gets in the way of a lot of relationships, is when you're busy, when you're distracted, when you're dealing with the toil, you can't make good connections. And so I think at the heart of that is my job, is how do I use technology to drive that human machine collaboration in ways that create real world outcomes, you know?
The reason I've been so looking forward to having this discussion is because I go out on a limb and say, as much as any guest we've ever had on the show, you sit squarely at the intersection of AI and the future of work. And so when I think about, the mission of every human finding a job, with less friction, or the best job for them, more than probably in the past several centuries, a time when we're all confronting our complicated relationship as humans with technology. So the business is soliciting job seekers to find jobs, but they're also a little bit apprehensive, a little bit scared. They want AI to help them with their job search, but they're scared if they're entering a career that may be at risk of being potentially disrupted by AI. How does that kind of that high level thinking feed into how you think about your mission?
Yeah, I think it's brilliantly said. I think one of the things that uh, it's just such an honor and such a privilege to hold this important societal, impact that we have as a marketplace. You mentioned the 610 million job profiles in the intro. That's a lot of humans. It's a lot of humans that trust us. It's a lot of humans that believe that we are important for them, and they deserve us to be at our best here. And I think one of the most important things that we should think about is, there is fear in the system. There's fear of, I'll tell a quick story. My daughter just graduated for undergrad,
Congrats.
and was sort of computer science and business, and then decided she wanted to be a lawyer. And then the world got disrupted. And she said to me one day, "I'm not sure. Should I pursue law school? Should I go after law school? Should I go back to the technology world? What do you think?" And at the end of the day, I came back to her with, we are a skills-based company at Indeed, and I think the world is going to be more and more skill-based overall. I think we should lean into that, and I think you should consider leaning into that. Preserve future option value, preserve flexibility for you and for yourself. Anyone that says that they have the answer about what the future holds for us here, you should kind of run away. You should run away from that. So we are focused, I think, at Indeed, making sure that we understand deeply the skills that people have, and we understand deeply the skills that employers are looking for in roles of the future, and connecting those together.
I say the same thing to my kids. Find a passion. I think your career will no longer be defined by what your diploma on the wall says. It will be more defined by, to your point, the skills you have, the things that get you excited about getting out of bed, because that's the thing that AI will never do. AI will never get excited about getting out of bed for anything. But humans, gosh, we have, infinite capacity for feeling pain, and, our highs are high and our lows are low. And that's the essence of what I believe what it means to be human. And I'm glad that's the advice you had for your daughter.
I think what there's just this incredible opportunity that we have right now with AI, and it was very surprising to me, is the impact on empathy that AI can have. Can you believe that the impact on increasing empathy with our humans is coming from machines? And so the skills of the future are, how do you collaborate? Can you tap into that empathy? Can you communicate? Can you orchestrate both the digital side of the world with the human side of the world? Are you flexible? Are you a learner? Are you going to continue to evolve? I think that those skills are incredibly important and something that I'm attempting to impart on my children. And I know that we've been blessed to have children that have a high degree of empathy already, but also that's a muscle that needs to be grown, over time.
It's a future-proof skill, most certainly, empathy. I think the easy part of the conversation is, how is AI impacting the job seekers? How are you incorporating AI into the job search process?
So on the job seeker side, I think the one of the challenges, the biggest challenge that we've had is the black hole challenge. You've probably experienced this on both sides of the house. You're a job seeker, you apply for a job, and you don't hear back. You're an employer, you've got a job seeker that applies, you reach out for an interview, and you don't hear back. I think one of the most powerful opportunities that we have, one of the reasons that we have a black hole problem, is that you just can't get to all of the job seekers. And the job seekers, because they have to apply to so many different places, so many applications, so many jobs, for them to feel like they're going to get a hit that's valuable for them, they also have to manage those communications. So I think one of the opportunities here is, what would it be like if in the world, every job seeker and every application that apply gets looked at? There's a connection. And I think with AI, that allows us to scale at such a just amazing level. I think we can solve the black hole problem. And so if you think about, certainly there is matching. You mentioned the dual-sided marketplace. Of course, we want to have better matching between job seekers and employers. Yes. We want to be able to show a job seeker not just the job that is right for them today, but actually the path through their career. Like, what are the opportunities? How should you think about the network effect of taking one job versus the next job? And how is that going to influence your future? We're going to do that as well. But I think the most powerful opportunity here is to solve the black hole problem.
Now, from the perspective of the employer, are there new sets of tools? I completely share your perspective from the employer side. It gives us as much angst as it does the candidate, that we struggle to follow up in a empathetic and a meaningful way with every candidate. The numbers just don't work out. How does it work on the employer side in terms of maybe humanizing or improving the search process?
Yeah, I think the most important opportunity that we have, and some of the technology that we've been releasing over the course of the last couple of years, and it's getting better and better. It's phenomenal how good things are getting over the course of the last couple quarters, actually, is how do we sift through this, hundreds of thousands, even sometimes millions of applications? How do we sift through those and pull the jewels up? How do we make sure that we connect with those job seekers in a high quality way? And so the platform changes that we have made have largely been in, how do we identify the best of the talent pool and get them connected to the right job, to the right employer, and make it easy for the employers to see that, right? Talent professionals, HR professionals, hiring managers, they've got to deal with a lot. And this is what I mean by empathy. Because they've got to deal with this just huge volume of job seekers and applications, and they're trying to get the best. And sometimes they believe that if I have all the job seekers and all of the applies, I can sift through and I can find the best candidates. That's just not reasonable. But with Indeed scale, with all of the data that we have, all of our trained models, we do have amazing matching technology here. We can bubble up and we can highlight those folks that are the very, very best for that job. And we can make it easier and faster to connect. And this is where the empathy kicks in, is when it's easier to schedule an interview, when it's easier to connect with the job seeker, and you know that you're connecting with a job seeker that is qualified, that has the skills of the future, that will love working at your company, right? Because we understand what they're looking for as well. When you can do that, you can have a richer dialogue with the job seeker.
So earlier you talked about extracting friction from every point in the process. And I think you were thinking discussing it in terms of the job seeker, the hiring process, but it obviously also applies to, if you call it your day job, taking care of internal employees at Indeed. I'll frequently say the quality of experience for your customer will never be better than the quality of your experience for your employee. How do you think about, that goal or objective that you have of delivering experiences that take friction out of the Indeed employee's life so that they can better serve your customers?
Yeah, the main mission here for if I take my CIO hat for a second, it really is stripping sand out of the gears. And with there's a real reason here, and it's exactly that, is we want to strip out anything that gets in the way of the job seeker. We're a job seeker first company. Anything that gets in the way of getting a job seeker a job, and the right job, we need to strip away. Anything that's in the way of an employer being able to advertise their jobs and post their jobs and manage their jobs and manage their candidates, we want to strip that away as well. And I think anyone in a large company knows that bureaucracy sets in. Complexity sets in. Entropy is just a thing that happens in any company. And we need to manage that. We need to manage the complexity so that we can stay focused on the mission. So as we're thinking about shrinking the time to fill a job by 50%, I also have very big goals within the company of we're going to increase productivity. We're going to double productivity of our seller organizations. We're going to double productivity of our CS organizations. We're going to double productivity of our engineering and product development functions, as an example. Not as a vanity metric, but because we know there's a lot of toil in every one of those workflows. We know that there's a lot of toil in every one of those processes. And if we can strip those out, we can create better business value. We can create better value for job seekers and better value for employers. And our employees are just going to be happier.
And that's the way the most effective, the best CIOs talk, is in terms of how they can help the business deliver better experiences for customers. I have a hard question for you. I'm going to ask it just because I got to hear your perspective on it. So when an Indeed employee is listening to you saying that and hearing your objective, which is logical, that you're going to double their productivity, one version of that is that you're going to automate 50% of their job. At which point, some people would say, well, that must mean that the other 50% of my job is going to be automated later. How do you kind of achieve a balance between helping employees feel empowered because you're making them excellent at their job and them feeling threatened that AI might be an adversary?
Yeah, it's a delicate dance to carry that, and we all have to carry that. We have to carry that for the people that work for us. We've got to carry that for society as well. This fear of AI taking jobs, I think it's real, and displacing jobs is real. The way that I describe this is it certainly is going to occur in my mind. My point of view is that the industry will see large-scale disruption, and there will be large shifts in jobs, particularly those that are operational in nature, that are highly automatable. My hope, my belief is actually it allows us to go up, to be more strategic, to create higher quality connections. And so I believe that the way to think about this is continuing to reinforce with our teams here at Indeed. One of the things that I reinforce all of the time is, this belief that AI is not going to take your job. Those that can leverage AI, those are going to take your job. Those folks are going to take your job. So it is in our best interest for us to continue to grow and to learn and leverage this amazing technology that we have. It does come with risk, and I don't want to gloss over that. This is a hard question for sure. I imagine with any kind of automation, when you get more and more productive, you will see reductions in certain teams. You will also see jobs that just cannot be done today that will create massive value in the industry, massive value for Indeed. Those jobs will be unlocked. And I truly believe that we need to unlock those jobs, and we need to get people to the place where they can do those jobs, and they can do those jobs really, really well.
When you think about, let's say, Anthony and Dan are having a version of this conversation and it's 2035 instead of 2025, what does that marketplace look like? Maybe what are some of the top jobs that, maybe seem like science fiction today, but they'll be popular on Indeed in a decade?
One of the things that's a great question. One of the things that I think is interesting, and I'm keeping my eye on this one, is I'm going to point to our R&D organization, our product development organization, for a second. Today, our what we call an engineering pod or an engineering team, it's made up of one UX person, one product person, and somewhere between 6 and 8 engineers. That makes up a team today. And a product person has some overlap skill with the UX person, and engineers have some overlap skill with the product people. And everyone has sort of some overlap, but very specialized skills and sets of experiences. I think in the next, I don't want to call a shot 10 years in the future, but maybe even 2 and 3 years in the future, I think it's going to be interesting is we're going to blur the lines here. And I think we're going to see people empowered through technology, empowered through AI. We're going to see UXers deploying code. We're going to see product managers deploying code. We're going to be seeing engineers that are doing mock-ups directly using tools. I think the size and the team topologies are going to change radically. And those folks that can be flexible and that can leverage the various types of AI technologies are going to be more and more effective. And so smaller team, I believe it's going to be smaller teams, more autonomous teams, and folks that just Jack and Jill of all trades is going to come back into vogue. And it was in vogue early in the technology world. It's like, you had people that were good at software and good at hardware and good at all these things. Over the years, we've got more and more subject matter expertise, got more and more focused, and that created amazing products. I think actually we're going to move to be more broader. And, as a team, I'm pretty excited by that.
In the Fun Fact article, I talked a little bit about the rise of the job of an AI ethicist. We'd love to just get your perspective. What is AI ethics to you? Not a trick question. Just kind of everyone thinks about it differently. How does the thought process of the intersection of what AI can do and what it should do enter kind of your role on a daily basis?
So I think the first part is, how do we ensure that the model, the workflow, the systems that we deploy reflect our values? So I think there's lots of ways of describing ethics, but at Indeed, we've got a strong set of values. One of the things that allows us to move so fast and to innovate so fast is that decisions are grounded in our value system. And we want to make sure that as we deploy AI, that the AI and any kind of automation for that matter, so I think it starts with AI ethics is starting with the intention and it ends with impact. So we are making sure that we're designing with transparency so people understand how decisions are made, as an example. That's just part of the value system of Indeed, is transparency. And so we're naturally applying that to AI, as an example. We're stress testing fairness. These stakes are extremely high. Promotions, hiring, any kind of decision like this are extremely high, and we take that very, very seriously. So we're building for fairness. We're building and we're stress testing for fairness. We're no longer just red teaming, as an example. Could a bad actor do something to our AI systems? We're red teaming the system itself, the model itself, how fair things are. We're building for inclusion and accuracy and quality. And the last thing that I would say is the AI ethicist, and I think we have a thing at Indeed that is an AI constitution. and we have an AI constitutional agent that is really quite compelling. This is then, how do we make sure that humans remain in control, but we've also using AI to test and to validate that the rest of what we're doing with AI is proper and governed well.
One of the best answers I've heard to that question. I mean, just you open by saying, what it means to you is building AI that reflects our values. That's, cuts to the very humanness of the pursuit here. If you can stick around at least for another few minutes, all of the greatest leaders, I'd say almost throughout history, have always overcome some form of adversity. And in my research preparing for this discussion, I was really inspired by your backstory. To the extent you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit, I just think a lot of our audience could learn and maybe be inspired like I was by learning a little bit about how you got to where you are.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. I truly appreciate that. I hope my story can be inspiring. I'll start, maybe the Reader's Digest version is, I had somewhat of a rough time growing up and ended up homeless for quite some time. Before I joined the military, I was homeless and in a pretty deep pit of despair. And there's something that happens to a person when there's a lack of safety, when there is food scarcity, as an example, when you are feeling marginalized to that degree. There's something that happens to confidence, or it certainly happened to my confidence. It created a deep sense of fear in me, and a fear of not being safe, a fear of not having a future. And by happenstance, by blessing, by luck, I ended up walking through a recruiter station and being saved by the military. Just an amazing opportunity to be saved by the military and to be able to polish and grow my skill set and take that skill set and then have this amazing opportunity to move into the technology sphere. It wasn't until I joined Glassdoor, though, maybe about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, that I realized something. I realized something very, very important, that fear and that the issue that I had with safety also filled my cup and gave me so much energy around helping people get jobs. And so to be here at Indeed, to have been at Glassdoor, to be at a company whose mission is to help people get jobs, it's just out of this world. It's an opportunity. I feel so blessed and so inspired around this mission. The thing that I would say that this taught me, grit is not enough. Hard work is not enough. Being lucky is better than being good. And everyone needs a helping hand. Everybody needs support. And I got that support through the military originally and throughout my entire career with amazing mentors and with just amazing companies. I want to do that now for the next set of folks coming up through the ranks.
That is so central to the human condition. Humans are resilient. We're compassionate. We're passionate. We derive meaning from helping others. And everything about this conversation has been about two technologists talking, but everything has been about, what it means to be a human and partner with AI and with machines. And I really appreciate you sharing. I know it's very personal, but I appreciate you sharing that backstory, because I want everyone, who's listening to also appreciate what it means to be resilient and, be the best version of a human. And so just thanks for your service. Thanks for everything you've done.
Thank you, Dan. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, gosh, that's all the time we have for this week on AI and the future of work. But of course, we're back next week with another fascinating guest. As always, I'm your host, Dan Turchin from PeopleRain, and we'll see you next week.